Hello my loves and welcome back to Adulting Done Right. My name is Ginger. If you are joining us again, hello. If you are joining us for the first time, hi. Listen, we've got a hurricane brewing out in the Atlantic right now. Hurricane Florence, whatever you want to call her, she's out there. She's approaching the eastern United States. And there are a lot of people that maybe haven't been through a hurricane before. And as someone that has been through several hurricanes as a Florida native, some milder than others, but I remember Hurricane Charlie where we lost power for 10 days. And I thought you guys might be able to use some tips and tricks and things like that to help get you prepared for the storm that's coming your way. Before we get into that and hurricane prep, if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you feel like it's helpful and you think somebody else you know might find it helpful, definitely share it. And if you want to be able to see whenever we post new videos, definitely make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications. So let's hop into it. Now, as somebody that is a Florida native, like I said, I have been through my fair share of hurricanes. Some, again, more milder than others, but definitely some pretty strong hurricanes. I've been without power for several days, and I know, or I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of the things that were important to me at that time and the things that were most helpful. I will say I've also lived in North Carolina, which does get its own sort of severe weather, whether it's hurricanes or snow, which it doesn't normally get in Charlotte where I used to live. And the really funny thing that I always found was that whenever there was any sort of severe weather warning in Charlotte, and I won't say anywhere else, but Charlotte in particular, you'd go to the store and the bread, eggs, milk, and butter would all be wiped out. I don't know if everybody just makes French toast when there's severe weather or what, or why you would need those 4 specific ingredients, but that's just what I saw. I can tell you though that those 4 particular things were not top billing on my list for getting prepared for hurricanes or any sort of severe weather. So let's jump into it. The first thing that you want to make sure that you have whenever you're preparing for any sort of severe weather or hurricane like Florence that's out in the Atlantic right now and making its way towards the eastern United States, you want to make sure that you have plenty of water. You want to make sure that you have stuff essentially to drink for you and your family. That can be water, it can be other things, but definitely make sure you have water, because if for whatever reason you're on a boil notice, you won't necessarily be able to use the water from your tap for things like cooking, for things like drinking. So keep that in mind. The other thing that you want to make sure that you have is lighting. Your phone is great as a flashlight in a pinch, but if you're without power, you don't want to waste your phone battery by draining it, using it as a flashlight. Stock up on some candles, stock up on some flashlights, things like that that you know will last you a while and again won't drain whatever other resources you have. In that same breath and note, make sure you have matches if you're using candles, make sure you have batteries if you're using flashlights. Along the same lines as batteries, so this wasn't necessarily something that came in handy for me back when I went through Charlie several years ago. But nowadays, this is something that I would absolutely have, especially if I was worried about power outages. And that is USB chargers that are charged. If you lose power and you don't have a generator, and you're kind of stranded or stuck and whatnot, USB chargers that are charged can help you power things like your phone, if your phone happens to die, and anything else that you might need in a pinch that can charge off of USB. Keep that in mind. And there are a lot of USB chargers that you can buy that have multiple charges in them, meaning you can use them multiple times before you actually have to recharge the actual battery pack again. Another thing that you want to make sure that you have if you're getting ready for any sort of severe weather like a hurricane or a winter storm is food. And you want to be mindful of the type of food that you're buying, because if you lose power and you're not sure how long you're going to be without power, perishable foods that you would store in your refrigerator aren't necessarily the best idea because they're not going to be able to keep as long. You want to think of shelf-stable items that are easy to prep, that don't necessarily require cooking, because again, if you're without power, how are you going to cook the food? So things like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are great. fruits and vegetables that don't need to be refrigerated. So like bananas, apples, oranges, those types of produce. Snack items like pretzels, nuts, fruit and nut mix. Beef jerky would be a really great one. Think about those things that, again, you can snack on, don't require cooking, and aren't gonna go bad if you do lose power and are without refrigeration for a few days. If you do decide to get some items that need to be maybe cooked, like mac and cheese or pasta or eggs or whatever else that might need to be cooked, if you lose power, you need to think about how you're gonna cook that sort of stuff. And the best suggestion that I have is one of those portable gas cooktops. You can pick one up at your local outdoor store, whether it's a Bass Pro Shop, an REI. I'm sure Walmart has them too. Make sure you also pick up the gas cans that go with that, again, so you can cook meals if you need to or want to and you're without power. Another thing that you're going to want to have if you are experiencing or going through any severe weather and you lose your power is instant coffee. Because I know there are a lot of you out there that have to have your cup of coffee in the morning and you're going to go to make it that morning after the storm and you're not going to have power and you're going to be like, oh crap. Instant coffee. Starbucks makes instant coffee. Everybody makes instant coffee. There's been instant coffee for years. You may not have it all the time, but in a pinch, it'll do. And that's where that portable cooktop will come in handy because you're gonna want some hot water for it anyway. That's what I thought. The other thing that you guys want to make sure that you have if you're getting ready to experience any sort of severe weather or getting ready to go through a hurricane is hygiene kits, right? Meaning all of like the personal hygiene stuff that you might need, whether that's some wet wipes to kind of wipe yourself down, toilet paper, napkins, sanitary napkins, tampons, all of those kind of like miscellaneous items that you may not think of immediately, but that you'll definitely need if you do experience any sort of power outages or anything like that. The other thing that you're going to want to make sure you have is child and pet supplies. So think about the things that you're going to need to take care of your kids if you lose power for several days. Think about the things that your pets are going to need. You want to make sure that you have a good supply of all of that stuff so that in the event that you lose power or it's going to be difficult to get things into the area because of damage from a storm, that you have what you need to at least last you for a little while. This last section of essentials that you need if you're preparing for any sort of severe storm or severe weather, like a hurricane or a winter storm, is you want to make sure that you have all of your family's important documents and some cash set aside so that way if you guys have to evacuate and leave home, that you bring all of that stuff with you. Again, having been through many hurricanes and experienced many severe weather related events, there are going to be a lot of businesses that are closed and that are without power if you do get some severe damage or even not so severe damage. And oftentimes the only way that they'll be able to do business is with cash. So make sure that you have cash handy for the duration that you might be out of power. You know, eventually again, things will start and places will start to regain power. But just know that it may be a while before you have power and before other places of business have power. So in order to be able to buy things, in order to be able to get what you need, having cash is so important. I know I never carry cash, but I definitely nowadays think about carrying cash on me anytime that we're getting ready to experience any sort of severe weather. There you have it, guys. That is my list of hurricane essentials, whether you've been through a dozen hurricanes or whether this is your first one. I hope you found this helpful. Like I said, if you liked this video, definitely make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you found it helpful and you think somebody else that's preparing for the storm would find it helpful, definitely make sure you share it with them. If you want to see other videos that we upload, definitely make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications. I hope that you all make it through the storm safely. I hope that this helps you prepare for any sort of severe weather that you may be experiencing. If there is something that is on your hurricane or severe weather prep list, definitely make sure you leave it in the comments below. I'm always looking to see what I may need to add to my list of essentials whenever I'm thinking about preparing for a severe weather event. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, bye. Definitely make sure you subscribe. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to Adulting Done Right. Ooh, I saw my bat wings there for a minute. Oh.